Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning when you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
There we go. A little bit of staying alive for this Easter Monday. I can't think of anything more appropriate.
Although I am interested. We don't. I don't get to hear the music here in the studio that you select for the show. What does "Staying Alive" sound like without the stuff? Is it the same song without the? Well, it is one of my favourite sketches. I don't know if it was Big Train or whatever it is, when they're all doing it and they're all like got deep bass voices, and then the production assistant just comes around and knees them all in the testicles.
I remember that.
It's a great bit.
This is an Easter Monday episode, and no matter which way you come at Easter, whether it's from a Christian point of view, you might be agnostic, atheist, Hindu, whatever. The only thing that really matters this coming week is the discounted chocolate Easter eggs at the supermarket. Am I right?
Are they discounted
After Easter, yeah.
After it? So on Monday they'll be cheap.
Which is today.
Yes, of course it is. Sorry, I'm going back in time to Friday to plan out how I buy my.
I reckon in the last 2 weeks we've had the curtain pulled way back on all of what we do at Good Movie Monday.
I did listen to last week's show because I wasn't on it, and I was like, I love how you. On one hand, you keep up this ruse that it's Monday morning, yet you also, at the same time, make jokes about how it's clearly not.
Yeah, I know. Look, it's part of the it's part of the shtick, mate.
Yeah, you do both. You're like, well, we're recording this on something this morning, and but then you throw in these jokes about how it's clearly not.
And we're also drunk out of our brains on the last episode. Not a morning thing.
Yes, we did have to. We turned the volume up when you were talking and turned the volume down when Melzy was talking.
Yeah, it was a tough one to edit.
It sounded like you guys had a great time without.
Look, it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie.
That's what's important.
It's not that we don't miss you.
I do believe several times in the show you talked about how you didn't miss me.
Yeah, that's part of the shtick too, and you know it. What's the opposite? I mean, it's not self-depreciating. It's Ben depreciating.
Yeah. I know. It's okay if I do it to myself. Yeah, when other people do it, it's.
Let's just move on, shall we? Welcome, everybody. It's Good Movie Monday. You're listening to the weekly podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings. Can you tell that's the part I do the same every single week?
The funny part is I didn't realize how much from last year to this year you had cut out and you do as pre-records that you insert, like the some of the ads and and stuff. And I was like, it just didn't occur to me. And I was like, why are we getting through the show so much faster now? And I was like, this is great. Like, it's so, we get done in like 40 minutes. This is fantastic. And then listening to it again, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much more that he puts in that I'm completely unaware of.
There you go. Well, once again, let's just pull that curtain back over a little bit, just a little bit. I'm certainly enjoying some chocolate today. It's a delicious little haul from yesterday's antics. Welcome to the show. My name is Glenn Cochran, giver of eggs. Back from his working trip in New Zealand is the taker of eggs, Ben Halwig, who doesn't get eggs from me this year. I had one for him, but I'm going to eat it because he's technically not at the desk. He's at home on Zoom.
On Zoom. I'm hoisting my own petard. Because it was you bent over backwards to get me to come out to the desk, and I was like, mate, I've been on a plane, I've been in a rental car, I've been stuck in a McDonald's for 6 hours. I do not have what it takes to drive the car more than 5 minutes.
I should have lured you with one of those giant $120 Easter eggs.
Like, if you would have told me that there was chocolate at the end of the rainbow, I may have made the journey.
Well, welcome back anyway. Have you had any kind of chance to rest yet? At the time we're recording this, you are literally fresh off the plane.
Yeah, no, like I got home by about 10:30 kind of last night. think I collapsed in bed at about 10:30, and then I was up again at 5 to take the dog for his walk while in that brief period where it wasn't raining.
Oh, look, you've been away for so long and you haven't had to take the dog walking. You'd think you could plan it so you've got at least one extra day when you get home and not having to.
Yeah, no, but the dog is so disappointed if I don't take him. Like he really plays on those heartstrings.
Hey, before we move on, I've got to give a bit of a shout out to Malzy, as we mentioned earlier. She co-hosted the show last week. Very interesting show. Got a lot looser as it went along, but do appreciate her filling your seat, mate. That was good fun.
I hope she didn't adjust my bum grooves in the seat.
I don't know. Maybe I need to sit in it and have a feel.
It'd be like a giant, like a child sitting in a giant's bum hollows, but. I hope they didn't. I don't know if I can get back there and kind of remake all the impression, re-customize it.
Well, noted. Future purposes, I'll preserve your seat. Put it in the cupboard when you're not here.
Yeah, cover it in plastic and stuff, so it's all.
Yeah,
It
was great also having you beam in with Jarrett from across the ditch, which in a weird kind of way you're going to be doing on today's episode too.
Yeah,
that's
and then when I'm away in a month's time, for a longer period, that's going to be super interesting.
It certainly will. We'll talk about that and how it's going to fucking work after we record because I still have no clue. But anyway,
I mean, ideally, because of the time difference, I'll just do it via Zoom.
Amazing.
From there.
Amazing. Well, hey, while we're still in intro mode, a warm welcome to the new listeners that we do have, because I notice every week we do tend to have a few that climb on board, and no doubt this week we're going to have a lot more because of our special guest. Ben and I will be chatting with Thom Mathews. This is a guest we promised a few weeks ago, and I didn't deliver because I got my schedules mixed up.
Yeah, I'd be very careful with that word "we" there, because it was you announced it, and then you didn't put it in.
I fucked up.
I just sit here twiddling my thumbs, doing nothing.
Hey,
so I can't.
Isn't this
I can't take any of the credit.
Isn't this a team effort? Isn't this a team effort?
Yeah.
When we share success and we share failure.
Yeah. Fair enough. Sorry, everyone. I fucked up.
Thom Mathews, though, this is the actor most iconic for his work in Return of the Living Dead and the Friday the 13th franchise, and a slew of other notable movies, and particularly a heap of Albert Pune movies, which got me most excited. So yeah, it's going to be good having him on the show. Of course, we have our other usual shenanigans coming up. As I said, Jarrett's PE class in a moment, and we also have the Boneheads from Kentucky will be doing their Bonehead Weekly Fun Size segment. But before we push on to the next block of the show, mate, let's talk about New Zealand for a minute. What'd you get up to over there, and did you catch any movies?
I did actually. Yeah, we were working the majority of the time. We came over. I think we did the full week here. Traveled on Saturday, started work there on Sunday, and kind of worked all the way through. So it was a pretty hectic 2 weeks. But we did manage in our rare moments of downtime. We did manage to catch a couple of films. We watched A Man Called Otto.
Oh, yep.
Just dropped on Prime, I think Prime. And okay, it's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's always fun watching Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
So I quite enjoy it. I don't think Jarrett enjoyed it as much as I did, and I kind of kept it quiet.
Yeah, right. Well, he knows now. He listens.
He knows now. Yeah, I don't think he thought it was great. And then we watched. I can't remember. It was recommended by someone. There's a Frank Grillo movie called Dixie something, and it's like a drug.
Right.
It's a Mexican cartel movie, and I thought that was kind of horrible. I was much more interested in playing games on my phone than watching that film, which is a shame because I am a big Frank Grillo fan. But we also managed to head over to Event Cinemas in New Zealand and catch Air because we got really jealous of watching you being at the premiere. I've been looking forward to the.
I really missed having you at this particular screening. This is one that I think would have been a great Ben and Glenn screening movie. I think because I enjoyed the shit out of it. So far, definitely top 5 of the year for me. And, it may stay that way for the rest of the year, but I just couldn't speak highly enough of this one.
Look, I don't know if I would go as far as that. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but what I'm not sure of, and I'll have to give it another couple of watches before the end of the year. I can't tell if I liked it because the soundtrack is so good or because the film is so good.
Yeah.
Like every song on that soundtrack was a banger, and I found myself and like other people in the cinema kind of singing along and bobbing along to that soundtrack of non-stop 80s bangers.
Yeah.
And so like was I as into the story as I was into the soundtrack? I don't know. That's what
Well, I kind of was. I just thought it was such a neat little packaged film. Like, it was really well paced. It all mostly took place in one location. The characters were engaging. I love Jason Bateman in this. He actually had a lot of heart. He played his same sort of, I don't know what you'd call him, charismatic self, but he went a little deeper with this one. Matt Damon does what Matt Damon does. Like, he's good at it. Ben Affleck was particularly good as the CEO of Nike. I just laughed all the way through this, even though it is fairly accurate to the story being told. Yeah,
look, I remember a good friend of mine, Liam Jose, lent me two trade paperbacks of manga paperbacks, which are like these business stories of like corporations, 7-Eleven coming to America. And it's the story of 7-Eleven, and they are fascinating.
I know, the McDonald's one's incredible.
Like they're really good. Like these kind of corporate, which I'm surprised because I guess being there, it would just be a pain in the ass, and I would find it incredibly boring if I actually had that job. Someone doing a good job of dramatizing it and cutting out all the boring parts and adding a cool soundtrack makes these things like fascinating, like more so than a documentary would be, because then you have the liberal use of jogging montages, as in. And, beating you over the head with the fact that it's set in the 80s.
Now, look, speaking of jogging montages or jogging, the one moment I thought of you the most in that film was right at the end on the track, Matt Damon. I'm like, we get it. No, we get it.
Yeah, it was so good. It was such a good comedic moment.
building the film up.
Oh, no. That's horrible. No, horrible. It's so good.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, just go and see it. Don't want to actually spoil it for you, but it's very, very funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm glad you got a kick out of it. I don't think there's going to be much criticism for this one.
No, it's just a like, I sometimes I say it and it sounds like I'm being derogatory, but it is just a fantastic way to spend 2 hours.
Yep, totally.
It's just a nice, breezy, pleasant way to spend your time.
And with that, let's push on. Can you just do me a favor and go back to New Zealand just for a moment for the next segment?
Sure.
Everyone who listens to this show every single week knows exactly what I'm about to say. And so you guys, you have maybe, I don't know, a minute, maybe less, to go and take a piss or make a cup of tea or something while I tell the new people all about Newsly. Let's just pretend you can't pause the show. But no, if you are new to the show, please listen to us on the Newsly app. It is a super app. It is free. Put it on your phone. Let you listen to all the podcasts from around the world. Doesn't matter what podcast, they will have it. But it also has all of the news from around the world. And the groovy part is that it reads it back to you in a natural human voice. So whether you're into politics, religion, sports, music, film, it doesn't matter, because Newsly goes and finds the highest trending articles from over 80 different countries and then reads it back to you in a natural human voice. That's really, really handy if you're on the go. You might be jogging, you might be driving to work, whatever. You might actually have impaired vision. Newsly has you covered. So the other awesome part is they have a premium service that we can give you an entire month's worth for free. All you have to do is use our exclusive code. It's MNDAY. That's Monday without the O. MNDAY. Punch it in, go to newsly.me, grab the app, get some premium. On with the show. And how are you guys going?
All right. We're going good. We're going good. We've just been busy working on behind the scenes of this New Zealand horror film. I've been watching a lot of practical effects, which is terrific. I mean, the special effects in this film are going to be incredible. It's a body horror film. I can't say too much more, but maybe in a week's time, once the press release has gone out, we can speak a little bit more freely of it. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun and finally working on a horror film, because we've been behind the scenes on everything from comedy crime capers to dark thrillers to science fiction features, but not like a actual multi-million-dollar budget horror movie. So it's refreshing to be. And the weirdest thing is when we're doing behind the scenes interviews with cast, not so much crew at this point, but the cast, not a single cast member is massively into horror films. In fact, most of them are actually quite frightened by horror films.
They're terrified by them.
And it just blows our mind, because we're like, oh, okay, cool, They're not even 100% sure whether they could stomach watching this film, but will, clearly, because they're in it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
There you go. Two guys from Monster Fest are the perfect ones for them to be talking to.
Oh, well, even better than that was one of the girls talked about a film they had not seen, but seen scenes from and the poster art, and it had been spoken about so much, and they go, I think it was called The Human Caterpillar. And we're like, oh, The Human Centipede. And she's like, yes, that's it. And then Ben's like, we did that one. She's like, what? We distributed that one back here in New Zealand and in Australia. So I think after that, she kind of looked for the nearest exit, was like,
yeah.
And did you tell her there were three of them?
We did. I did. They kept making them. And then I think she said, so where did they come from? The US? And what did you say, Ben?
I said, no, they come from they're Dutch films.
She's
Thom
like,
she's like, of course it's the Dutch. It's very much, Michael Caine's not wrong in Austin Powers. Like, there's only two things I can't stand in this world. It's racial intolerance of any kind and the Dutch.
Amazing. All
right.
So, what's out this week on home entertainment? There's 3 actual huge releases coming out. I'll speak about the one I'm most excited about first, and that's Megan. And that's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. Now, this has got both versions of the film, the theatrical, and what they're calling on the local release, the unrated version, which clearly is rated MA. So we're going to go with uncut, the uncut version of the film.
I hate that so much.
It's ridiculous, and it's becoming a common theme amongst the majors at the moment. It's like they've got that lazy at redoing the art for these releases that they're just, and you're like, well, clearly that's just...
Is there nobody in those departments that actually raises a hand and says, hey, it's actually rated? Like,
I honestly don't think so, because I remember receiving, oh God, it was probably maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I got a full slick of an upcoming release because they sent it to me so I could grab the special features for an article I was doing for the Monster Fest site. And I noticed that the aspect ratio was a bit odd. It had said it was 235 to 1, letterboxed. And I went, that doesn't sound right. It should be 16:9, not letterboxed. And then I also looked and it had that one of the audio tracks, one of the languages was Atmos. And I said, well, that's not a language. That's the audio codec. Yeah. And me supplying that information to them was just baffling. And so I had to send them what the back of the foreign release looked like so they could marry it up.
Yeah, wow.
It went through a chain of command till it came back and they went, he sent us the artwork for the UK one. No, ours is this one. And they resent the same image again. So I had to circle what I was talking about and say, no, this is wrong. And
wow.
I don't know if it actually, the finished product had it or not. I think they all looked at me like, responded to me on email like, I was one, a massive nerd, and two, they didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, and it wasn't going to make a difference to them.
No, but you guys, you work in distribution. Have you ever had that conversation whether you should release something with unrated slapped on the cover?
Definitely.
No, but we have had, I can't remember what title it was, Jared. I'm pretty sure we went out with one title that had we put the Banned in Queensland logo on it.
It wasn't Bloodlust, was it?
May have been Bloodlust, or maybe Smoke 'em. If you got them, I don't know if we did it just as a thing, but we actually did get questions about, is this, legitimate questions from retailers. Is this actually banned in Queensland? Yeah, it's like,
Incredible. And that'll lead me into another point I want to talk about, but we'll save that until I get through this week's releases. So, Megan, apart from the 2 cuts of the film, you actually get 3 featurettes. Look, they're marketing, EPKs, they're nothing special. So it's a shame there's no deleted scenes, but I guess they were all used in the uncut version. And there's no audio commentary. Look, so it's a little bit light on, but look, I'm happy that we're actually getting to see that version that we get to see the first time around.
Fun movie. Looking forward to it.
what about all of the social media stuff they did with the Megan and the dancing and all that? None of that stuff is going to be on.
Well, I think that they've got their home ed department, their theatrical division, then they've got their marketing department.
And they don't talk to each other.
And none of them speak to one another. They're probably completely unaware. Even Smile, which did come out in a fantastic edition locally, unfortunately no 4K Ultra HD though, despite there being one in the States and the UK. That release didn't have any of the, the marketing stuff they did. And they did some great viral stuff because they had the girl, standing behind home base, doing the maniacal smile. And that was just like this viral sort of advertising that they did. And they did, people appearing at train stations and department stores doing it all so they could get people sharing it on social media. But of course, that would be an amazing special feature, but maybe not until a boutique label re-releases the film in 20 years' time if physical media is still around. I hope it is. Okay, so another release that's coming out this week is a film that I haven't seen, but I really want to check out, and I think I'm going to have to import it because they're not doing the 4K Ultra HD locally, and if I'm going to watch this one, I want to see it in optimum quality. It's Babylon. It's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD.
Yes.
Now, you lads saw this film, and what was your general take on it?
Freaking loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And I think, especially after the week we've had, Jarrett, you will really appreciate the elephant stuff in Babylon.
I did spy some of the elephant stuff on another passenger's monitor on the plane. I said to Ben, I don't know what this guy's watching, but an elephant just shat on a guy, and he goes, "Oh, that's Babylon."
I love that. That's fucking hilarious. I never think about that, the films they put on a plane. It's the casual observer can just cop a look.
It's just what is
very
it?
inappropriate.
Yeah,
and that's in the first hour of that film. I don't want to catch it because it does go for 3.5 hours or something like that.
The elephant shitting scene or the entire duration of the movie?
Yeah, no, just the elephant shitting scene.
But the first hour is just debauchery.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds like my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So that one's coming out, and again, it's a bit of a lackluster release. There's only a handful of featurettes on there. I think 3 featurettes again, but at least there's some deleted scenes on there. But sadly, no audio commentary. And like I said, I want to see it, and I'm going to import the 4K. The US 4K's got Atmos, so look, it's a marriage made in heaven.
Shame about the commentary. It would be a good commentary.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, will this film get another release down the track? Unless it's, looked kindly upon by someone like Criterion down the track. I honestly don't think so. And so it's a shame.
It's got cult film value. It's got very much a cult kind of film value.
Well, it could turn out to be the next Day of the Locust, where it was critically sort of reviled at the time of release, and then some 30, almost 40 years later, the film is celebrated and heralded as a classic. So it could be the same thing. And then the last one I want to mention that's being released this week is the new Steven Spielberg film, The Fabelmans, and that's coming out. And again, it's this.
You
one
mean
actually...
the Femans? The Femans.
Good one.
No, sorry, that was so nowhere.
Meet the Feebles?
No, I know what he was going for there. I just didn't think it through.
It didn't quite work. It didn't. The theme review of the theme and didn't pan out.
Is this an in-joke for someone that seen the film? Or
I've been sitting across the desk long enough from Ben to know exactly where his brain was in that moment.
Yeah, no,
and I was on board for the wreck.
Yeah.
I was just a confused onlooker. I don't know what's going on, but I wish I was in on it. But the Fabelmans, and again, like I said, a sort of lackluster release, just a handful of featurettes, 3 in fact, and the trailer for the film, and that's all you're going to get. But I feel like that film may get another release down the track. And I mean, again, no 4K locally, just Blu-ray and DVD, and again, it got a 4K release in the United States. That's a try before you buy for me, so I think it's one that I might watch on the plane trip home, because I'm pretty sure I saw it on the in-flight viewing.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like it's not a masterpiece, but I think it's a film I will appreciate more the more I go back to it. And what was it? Is it Dennis Villeneuve or whatever, the guy that made Dune, has hailed it like the greatest film about film ever made?
That's incredible. Has he seen Robert Altman's The Player?
Has he seen 100 other movies that are about film?
Yeah, totally.
Has he not seen State and Maine?
I was just about to say it because I thought you would.
Cinema Paradiso? Come on.
All the classics. Soap Dish? No, that one's about TV. That's still a very good film. Maybe.
What was it? How to film an orgy? What was that film?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, something.
One of those ones. I mean, they had to make a porno.
That was that Christopher
Zach and Mira make a porno.
For your consideration.
No, that one is too, but no, the Christopher Guest one with Kevin Bacon and he's pushing the trolley with the camera.
The Big Picture?
Yeah.
Big Picture, yeah.
That was great too. Yeah. With Chuck from Better Call Saul.
Oh, which is from all of the Christopher Guest movies.
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a. I remember revisiting that film a few years ago, and it was such a weird juxtaposition to be watching that as Better Call Saul aired, and seeing the age difference of Michael McKean between
the way that we identify Michael McKean has changed completely. Like because now Saul is the first thing that comes to my mind. Where once upon a time it was like any of the fucking comedies he made way back when.
Precisely, yeah. Any of the mockumentaries.
Dave St. Hubbins, fucking
Anyway. Incredible. Then the other news that we want to speak about is the fact that Houseboat Horror has officially been announced by Umbrella Entertainment last week. They've announced that they're releasing the sort of standard collector's edition and then like a limited edition collector's edition that comes in a bundle with some art cards, a 48-page perfect bound book, an A3 reversible poster and a very cool Banned in Queensland pin. But in addition to that, the disc, both releases are fully loaded with special features. I mean, you've got 7 featurettes on there with everyone from cast to crew to even Michael Helms talking about Melbourne filmmaking and shot on video film in Australia, or shot on video. I should remove the word film from that completely. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff. There's a commentary track that I will be recording. We haven't recorded it yet, but I'm recording with The Late Show's Tony Martin, which I'm really excited about.
Come on, you're playing that down. That's a huge deal.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. I'm trying to play it down so I can keep the fanboy in me at bay.
That's true, but there's a history with Tony Martin in this film.
Absolutely. Tony Martin is responsible for pretty much introducing this film to a massive audience, because when it was released on video in 1991, no pun intended, but it pretty much sank. It came out through an indie distributor. It made it into, a handful of video stores. It was banned in Queensland, so it wasn't readily accessible there, and it kind of just disappeared. It didn't really turn out to be what Ollie had hoped it would once be. And I mean, obviously the special features will tell you how troubled the production was and how long it took to take it from the initial shooting through to release. But the fact that that came out in 91, then The Late Show did a sketch, with their undiscovered masterpiece of cinema in 1992, and, sort of did a really funny take, review of the film.
Of it. Yeah.
A piss take, and it blew the film up. From there, Gavin Wood received fan mail. They reissued the film on a sell-through video that actually played up the fact it was such a bad movie on the back of the slick. And it found a new audience. It found an audience, I should say, really. And it even then got broadcast on Channel 9, 2 years later. So he was a key part in bringing this film to a wider sort of, viewership. So
that is super exciting. I mean, I don't know how you're going to control yourself and not want to talk about bad eggs. And
I know, I'm going to have my bad eggs just sitting there going, "Hey, Tony, when we're done, you sign this, yeah?"
I live not far from the shopping centre at the start of that film now, so we can recreate it if you want.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Then I'll send Tony a text with a picture, and I'll go, "Hey, mate, look, we're just checking out some of the locations from Bad Eggs.
We're just driving irresponsibly down a hill."
So that thing's fully loaded. In fact, in addition to everything that Umbrella have currently announced, they haven't announced the essays that are going to be in the 48-page perfect bound booklet. Now, Ben, do you want to enlighten the good people as to what you might find in that booklet?
Well, at the moment, there will be an essay on the 4 great Australian SOV films, or at least 4. I think there is actually a few more that John Harrison is putting together for us. There is a good friend of ours, Mr. Andrew Leibold, is putting together a band in Queensland essay, and there is another one, but I don't really want to talk about that one yet, just in case it doesn't happen, because there may be some illnesses getting in the way of that one, and I don't want to.
Not of the writer, but of another person that's involved.
One of the other person that was involved in it, yeah. But it'll also be full of vintage, archival, EPK materials and a bunch of other stuff. So there'll be more Houseboat Horror stuff collated in this release than in any other way, in any other time. I'm kind of shocked at the treatment that we're giving this deserving film.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity,
Yes.
and we've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
And look, if you've never listened to Good Movie Monday, or you came on board later, like, Jarrett's history with this film goes back. This was an April Fool's gag that he pulled, where he joked about releasing this film, and now it's actually happening.
It's amazing. It's funny because we had someone comment on our social media about that cruel prank we did, but now it's become a reality. And I said, thankfully, we're kind of involved in it because we've been able to make the reality of the faux featurette You'll Bar Up with Gavin Wood a reality, and I've kept it as that title. So it's like prank come true. So
But this has happened to you, and Ben, like, you managed to release Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em, which was like almost a dream project of yours. So, like, you guys are doing kicking goals, man.
It's amazing. I remember when we were doing Smoke 'Em, and I was doing it with Ben, and we're doing the interviews and stuff, and I was asking Ray Bosley questions about Houseboat Horror. And God, you would never have thought that, some 6 years down maybe 7 years down the track, that we'd finally be doing Houseboat. And on Blu-ray too, which is phenomenal.
Now it's my turn, and maybe there is hope for Caddyshack 2. We'll just wait and see.
dig into that Warner archive. They need to get that thing out ASAP.
Yeah.
And as a bonus content,
4K
bonus content like secret Easter egg, you've got Harp Lips.
Yeah, but
Andy
they
Kaufman.
need to work fast before Jonathan Silverman passes away.
Oh yeah, true. Well, I mean, they've got to do a Weekend at Bernie's special edition before he goes.
Yeah.
Well. I mean, that's gotta happen. Oh, I may mention one more special feature that we can confirm will be on the release. I believe I can. Ben, the documentary. Could we talk about that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so Ollie Martin did direct a documentary at the same time as he was directing Houseboat Horror, and it's a documentary about Australian stuntmen. And it actually has a really great sort of 15-minute piece on Houseboat Horror. It is phenomenal. But the entire documentary, it's Jacko Presents the Mad Daredevils Down Under, will be included in SD as like a bonus feature. But it's sort of hard to get your hands on this one. Obviously, it hasn't had a disc release. It was released to tape through the same label that released Houseboat Horror on video back in the day. So that one's going to be on there.
Which actually turns out to be Johnny Young. Johnny Young's video label.
From Johnny Young
From
Talent
Young
Time.
Talent Time. Yeah. Of all the people in Australian media, he is not the one I would have picked to be the saviour of Houseboat, of the original theatrical, or the original release of Houseboat Horror.
It's phenomenal. And there's some other stuff we're working on that we're hoping to get cleared in time, because all the materials are due fairly soon. So hopefully we can get them cleared. But I mean, if we get these other extras, this thing is just going to be, I think it's going to be the most astounding, huge release of any Australian film that I can think of. And I love that it's Houseboat Horror.
It's Houseboat Horror.
It's amazing. It's amazing to think this will have a better edition than Picnic at Hangar Up, Mad Max, all of these celebrated Australian classics, and Houseboat Horror. Yeah, it will win in the end.
Amazing. There we go. All right,
Excellent.
well, there we go. That is a wrap, and it's very weird to be talking to Ben in New Zealand when he's on the show. There's no curtain here.
He's omnipresent. He's just something else. He's got he's got those Seth Brundle teleporters here, so I'm pretty sure he can be there in the studio, albeit with maybe some weird deformities.
Yeah. What I can do is I can leave a phone here, hidden away in the Airbnb, and then like call the phone, control it remotely, and link in to the show. So I can, well, technically I will be physically in Melbourne. My transmission will be coming from New Zealand. There'll be a weird delay though. Seems excessive.
We've gotten to, like, this is what, we're half an hour or so into the show, and that's clearly not what happened.
No. he's just writing a Christopher Nolan script right now.
Yeah. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, none of this makes sense. So anyway, guys, I'll let you guys go, and I'll see you back on the show, Ben. And you next week, Jarrett.
See you, mate.
Okay, Ben. So the thing is, over the last little while, you and I are a lot busier than we have been in previous years with work and all sorts of things. So we've tried to, people may have noticed, we've tried to change the show up a little bit, shake it up and retweak it so we don't have to put as much preparation into it. I don't know how that's going. That's for them to decide. But one of those things that we've done is this segment, which is Spinny Wheel. It's an age-old thing where we spin a wheel and we discuss whatever it lands on, or at least let that lead into a discussion. So that's no different from our old, what is it, Lucky Dip and all that kind of stuff.
Spitball before Lucky Dip. And
yeah. We're the masters of originality.
Yeah, well, hopefully none of this iteration doesn't damage anyone's collection.
That's true. Spitballs, people. They were wet.
Yeah.
And they'd land on covers, and what we forgot, or I forgot, was that the top of covers is open so that the water can get in.
And and I tell you, it doesn't look like what you think it would look like when water gets into a cover like that. It looks like well, let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about what it looks like. This is a PG.
That's 2 years ago's problem.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let me spin the wheel and see what it lands on. There we go. Fish out of water movies, Ben.
Ooh.
Fish out of water. Well, Splash.
Isn't that most movies? Aren't most movies a fish out of water?
Well, that should be an easy conversation then.
Yeah.
All right, I thought my joke was great. Splash is a good one.
Splash 2?
Yeah, Splash 2. Yeah, now we're talking.
Finding Nemo? No, I don't think. I think
no, that's a fish in water.
That's a fish in water.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
What about Crocodile Dundee?
Yes. The second half, although I guess they're both. The first half is Linda Kozlowski as a fish out of water, and the second half is Mick Dundee as a fish out of water.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think actually Australia does some good ones because of just our location. Anyone that comes here is a fish out of water, and like Wake in Fright, a good example.
Yeah, perfect example. Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think.
Now I'm just looking at my exploitation covers.
What about City Slickers?
Yeah, City Slickers is a great one. And City Slickers 2, the search for.
I love City Slickers, and I know a lot of time's gone by, but everyone's doing legacy sequels now. I would love to see another City Slickers. Number 3.
With Billy Crystal as the Curly character, or whatever his name is.
No.
Curly? What's his name? What's Jack Palance?
Yeah, Curly.
Name? Is it Curly?
Curly, yeah. And he had his brother in part 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because that was the legend of Curly's Gold.
Yeah.
But no, I would really like to see a third one. I love the first. It's just one of the most, I wouldn't say it's underrated because it won all kinds of awards. It was up for an Oscar. Jack Palance won an Academy Award for it. But I feel like it's forgotten now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, it's like anything. Like, it was a product of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I used to marvel at it at the video store when you'd see these movies that would come out and would be box office gold, and 10 years later, people they don't know what you're talking about.
I reckon it holds up. I reckon it's probably been about 2 years since I last watched it, but when I did, it was just as good now as it was then. Everything about it, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, like it's just great.
I haven't seen it since VHS.
You need to go back.
Cool. Like I would actually, because I remember absolutely loving it. So
hey, it's Easter Monday. It's still day off. It's a day off. You've got time, mate.
Do it. I think I might have I think you may have given me a VHS copy of it.
Yeah, I did, and it's got that fantastic Australian alternative cover art where he's on the horse backwards.
Well, maybe that's thanks for inviting me back on the show, Glenn. But
Yeah, Rovin, gee, my ass is swollen.
I've got to go. How about? I'm just looking around at my VHS collection as we talk. How about this gem? The wrong.
The Wrong Guy with Dave Foley. I adore that movie.
It's such a good movie, and it is a great fish out of water scene. Although it is ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's great.
I mean, man, that's one I would like to do for a recommendation on the show. Just consider this, people, a recommendation.
Yeah,
It's one of the most undervalued comedies of all time.
Yeah.
The scene when there's so much. I mean, this is a movie about a guy that thinks he's on the run from the cops, but he's not. Like, they're not after him at all, but he thinks they are. And there's a scene.
Because that's the thing. So basically, Dave Foley is an executive at a bank. No, sorry, at some corporate.
At a firm.
At a corporate firm. And he has to go in and see his boss for whatever reason, and he finds his boss dead, and he pulls out the knife or whatever it is in his back,
and he's busted in the moment.
And so he goes on the run. What he doesn't know is that the boss has had surveillance cameras in his office the entire time, and so the cops come and they know exactly who did it or didn't do it, as the case.
Yeah, and it wasn't him.
It wasn't him. And so he's just on the run, and he goes out to somewhere in rural America where he's hides out on a farm, and with Jennifer Tilly, I think, is the love interest.
God.
He doesn't hide out. He hides out with the local bank manager who's being threatened by the farm. Like the farmers don't
He's
want to back their loan.
salt of the earth type of guy.
But it's hilarious. It's great.
So the stick out moments in this, it's been such a long time. I have the DVD, so that might be my Easter Monday viewing. But that moment he gets caught and he thinks he's, suspected, he tries to leave the building covered in blood. So he holds his hand to his nose saying, "Nosebleed, nosebleed," and he's drenched in blood. And then there's a great moment because the actual killer is Colm Feore.
Yeah,
and there's a scene where Dave Foley is on the train, looking out the window, and there's Colm Feore in a Jeep following the train alongside, looking in, and he thinks, Jesus, this Dave Foley he's spotted me. He's got his eye on me. This guy's better than I thought he was. But it's actually Dave Foley looking at his own reflection. So good. You got the bare naked ladies as the cops that sing in the alleyway. Oh my God. Yeah. Everything about that movie is just gold.
The guy who plays the main cop is hilarious, who just uses
he's like a Josh Gad type.
Yeah. I thought it was Heavy D. When I think back on it, I thought it's Heavy D, but it's not Heavy D. He was in trouble. But
they're going through the surveillance footage before they get to the murder. It's the boss masturbating. Yeah. It's like, does he know we're watching?
Oh, he knew.
No, he knew. He wants us watching. And that's right. And the cop loves all the perks.
Yeah. So he just I may have to take in a Broadway show to solve this case. It's so good.
Anyway, we could just nerd on about that forever. I guess the only other one that comes to mind, maybe, because I was looking over the corner at my Futurama box sets. Do you remember Sleeper, the Woody Allen film?
Yes. Oh, fuck! What a great film.
That's like Futurama before Futurama.
Yeah. I would say it's probably my favorite Woody Allen movie. In terms of just gut busting laughs.
Yeah, those early films were gut busting funny. That's the one where he's cryogenically frozen for 200 years, I think it is, and he's thawed out in a new society.
Yeah. But look, actually, I saw Sleeper with another great Woody Allen fish out of water movie at the Astor, Bananas.
Oh, Bananas, I love it.
So good. Where he plays
Bananas the one. Is Bananas the one where he's like the celloist in the orchestra and they're in a marching band? And if you're a cellist, you got to sit on a seat. So he's and the marching band's marching, and he's constantly got to pick up his seat, sit down, play, pick up his seat, sit down, and play.
All I really remember from Bananas is, I don't know, he's at the start. I'm pretty sure Bananas, he's the product tester, right? And
Yeah.
he goes into the woman's office, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing on the weekend?" And she's like, "Some friends are coming around, and we're going to watch a porno movie." He's like, "Ooh, would you like an usher?" But then he gets voted the president of Banana Republic, and
That is right. It's a different one I was thinking.
Then they're Howard Cosell and the Wide World of Sports team are covering it like a sports event, and they're like, as the assassin prepares to kill El Presidente. It's so good, such a good.
I've got too much to watch on my Easter Monday.
Yeah, it's a lot of movies.
I'm a rock and roll vagabond, not a streetwise runaway. 16 when I left home, and I don't regret a single day. I'm a sucker for a loud guitar, got one tattooed on my chest. It's hot July, my mouth is dry. You know that I've been screaming hard rock summer. Hard rock summer. The rock all night, gonna blow this town. Till morning light, going round and round. Hard rock summer in the USA. I got a job, it was so damn hard, just working for the man. Now all year long I saved my pay, and I stashed it in a rusty can. Wind got hot and blew my hair, then it blew me out of town. I aimed my van at the LA sand, California screaming hard rock summer. Hard rock summer. Rock all night, gonna blow this town. Till morning light, going round and round. Hard rock summer in the USA. Hard rock summer in the US. Hard rock summer. Hard rock summer in the US. Hard rock summer. Hard rock summer in the US. Hard rock summer.
There's a good one. That's Alice Cooper singing Hard Rock Summer. It's a perfect way to introduce our special guest, Ben. That song was recorded exclusively for the Friday the 13th Part 6 soundtrack. Do you remember when songs were recorded exclusively for movies?
I do, and they were hits.
Yeah.
They would become hits.
They were.
I mean, look, I'm glad you chose that song, but I am also simultaneously disappointed that you didn't choose Surfing Dead from Return of the Living Dead. But I'm assuming that there would have been some copyright clearance problems getting that one across the line.
Possibly. I did go through a few songs that didn't quite make the grade. So it's not that that's second rate or anything.
Bloody YouTube.
Oh, dearie. But anyway, Thom Mathews, probably the most beloved version of Tommy Jarvis, I'd say, in the Friday the 13th franchise.
I mean, that's a big call. But yeah, I'd say so. He probably does I mean, when there's a Corey in the mix,
I know.
it's especially a bald, crazy.
Yeah.
Corey.
Well, for me anyway, it's always when it comes to Thom Mathews, the first things that come to my mind, obviously Return of the Living Dead, but also Mean Guns. Mean Guns is a really good one.
For me, it's 100% Return of the Living Dead. I know you love Mean Guns, but Return of the Living Dead, because he's like the main guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's the main guy, and he's the one who can smell that's what I was like. Well, I think in the interview, like I asked him, do people call out in the street? And in my head, it was all, do people call out, I can smell your brains from here. And of course, no, it's all like Tommy Jarvis stuff.
But his response, as people are about to find out, is equally as amusing.
Yeah.
Thom, it's great to be chatting with you. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thank you.
Yes, thanks for joining us. You've got such an amazing body of work, and for the benefit of our listeners, you started your career back with some absolute bangers. You know, from Return of the Living Dead to Friday the 13th, and of course your movies with Albert Pune.
Yep.
And for the people that are no strangers to Albert Pune's films, they'll know that you appeared in 12 of them. Like, what kept you coming back?
Albert, I mean, he was just very, very creative, and he allowed me to make some fun artistic choices on every project. So I kept coming back.
Excellent. I was going to pick your brain about what he was like to work with, but your first film with him was, I believe, Dangerously Close.
My dog in the back.
Your dog destroy them.
One of many. My wife is rescuing dogs, so we have a couple of dogs in here.
That's hilarious. So, Dangerously Close was the first movie that you made with Albert. Was that just the regular audition process? Like, how did you come into Albert?
Yeah, it was, and it was a very long audition process, and I found out later that he had everyone stay, and we'd scenes back and forth to see how we behaved, to see if we were could go with the flow, and he did it again. Scene stealer. Look at him.
When I was
he did it on purpose to see how we would react, and to see if we got uptight or how we behaved and stuff.
I think your dog took a leaf out of Albert's book. He's just seeing how we'll react.
Okay.
Best interview ever.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, I was serious. This is great.
when I was crate training my dog when he was a puppy, I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like a quarter of the blanket will have been eaten.
Yeah.
You're like, what? In the end, just leave him uncovered and hope that he doesn't start eating the mat.
So, what do you think it was about you that kept Albert coming back to you and making you a regular player?
I think it was my choices and stuff. For example, when I did Down Twisted, the guy was scripted as a dark, physically fit. So I started working out. I dyed my hair black, and I got home and I looked in the mirror and just, God, that doesn't look right on my skin. The black hair. So I bleached it all white. And I didn't tell him. And I went down to the set in Mexico, and I got the character's name was Demolis. So I got a silver cap, and just demolished him all out. I found a really great blue suede jacket that I brought down with me that I found at a secondhand store. And I walked up to the set because they had already started shooting. I said, Albert. And he looked at me, he didn't recognize it. It's Demolis. He goes, I love it. So he was he was open, and he wanted the creativity input, make it your own and things like that. So it was so much fun, very creative process to work with him.
I was going to say, you must have had a great working relationship.
I learned a lot, from him and his filmmaking and his style, and
Well, how would you describe him? Like, if you're talking to somebody that doesn't know of Albert's work, like, what's the best way to describe him as a filmmaker?
Guerrilla filmmaking at its finest, with some very artistic bents. For another example, I forget what movie it was, but there was a long, like a 5-page dialogue between me and someone else, and it traveled. We were going down the staircase, right? So, and in the middle of the staircase, there's an up and a down. So it was like maybe 2 floors, and there was a basement. So, and in the center was a door to go into the elevator, I guess. So we were traveling. We'd go up and hide behind the wall. We start our dialogue, come across the door, and go back down. We're still talking, and then cut. We started up again. He changed the number on the door. So it was the same. It was like a 4-page dialogue scene, but we'd stop it, go up here and start the dialogue again. He would just change the door. So that was very ingenious.
That sounds a bit like Mean Guns, maybe.
That
one had a lot of stairs.
Yeah, it could have been. That was another fun project. I always tell everyone to watch that one. It's a really, really fun character. They almost were going to have me and my sidekick do a spinoff because we tested so high with the audience and stuff.
Oh, amazing! I mean, you've made so many movies with Albert. Do you have a personal favorite?
I like Down Twisted. Was a personal favorite of mine. Just working with Carrie and Charlie Rocket, God rest his soul, and we were down in Mexico, and I had shot it just before I took off. I left there to go shoot Friday the 13th. Jason Lives. So it was fun to have two films back to back, which it's happened a couple of times in my career, but it's very infrequent and very unusual to happen for an actor.
Albert was a pro at doing movies back to back. He quite often had his next film prepped or already shooting before the wrap.
Yeah. We shot, what was it? With Carrie. I was a kickboxer. What was the name of that one? No.
Is it Heat Seeker?
No, it was. So Benny Urquidez was in it. Oh, Heat Seeker. Was it Heat Seeker? In the boxing ring?
Yeah, with the robot boxers.
Yeah. I don't think it was Heat Seeker. It was
Blood Match.
Blood Match? It was Blood Match. He had just finished Kickboxer 3, I think, so he had the set already set up. So he wrote the script in like a couple of days, and we shot it in 3 days, and it was a grind. There was a lot of dialogue, a lot of fighting. Benny Urquidez from the Jet Center was in it, and a lot of his students were in it. So that was very creative, very fast, and it turned out great.
Well, just as a comment, just as a comment, like just to fanboy a little bit here, like Down Twisted, I think is definitely my favorite of the films you've made with Albert. Heat Seeker 2, a big one, but Ben and I both agree that Ravenhawk is an absolute beauty. That's a classic right there. Yeah. That's a far better film than sort of history probably suggests. and amongst these films, like you've worked with so many amazing actors throughout this time. I'm going to just name some for the benefit of people listening. You got Burt Reynolds and Rob Lowe, Ice-T, Rutger Hauer, Christopher Lambert, Tim Thomason, Courtney Cox, just to name some.
Yeah, George C. Scott. I was really honored to do a TV show, Mr. President, with George C. Scott. That was a classic. Incredible. Something that's never happened to me before. We were over at the Paramount lot, and I was a Secret Service guy that guard his daughter. And we kind of like had this romantic interest going on, and he didn't like it. And so we were shooting our scene, and we did his close-ups first. And then, it was time for him to go, so he left. So I ended up doing the scenes with a stand-in, and he goes, "Sorry, kid, 5 o'clock, I gotta go." I'm like, what the hell? That's never happened to me. I understand it, but it was, no one told me what was going to happen. So
I think wasn't Michael Caine famous for doing that? 5 o'clock would hit, and he's like lights his cigar, and off he goes. So, are there any movies that Albert asked you to be in that you had to decline?
Recently, he was trying. Probably, I think, like 5 years ago. He said, "Come on and help me film this, and let's play." I said, "Albert, I've got kids, and it's going to cost me more to work on the movie than what you're offering to pay," because he liked to pay nothing. So,
circumstances certainly changed in independent filmmaking over the years too. So
yes, that's true. Yeah.
Just the quality itself, was a lot different. But you attend.
Well, they shot the film though, unlike today. I did a Western about 4 years ago where they were shooting on film. Which because when you shoot on film, the DP always says at the end of the shoot, "Check the gate," and that was like reminiscent of way back when I would do the film in 35 millimeters. So that was it was nice to hear, actually.
Absolutely. I'm going to assume that you attend conventions and things like that, and I don't suppose you get asked much about Albert's films. Is it all Return of the Living Dead and Friday the 13th?
Usually they bring me in for either one or the other. But every once in a while, someone will bring something that they want me to sign from, Mean Guns or Down Twisted and things like that. So
Awesome.
it catches me off guard a little bit because then they really know my work and stuff like that. So it's
Is that when they're standing in line to get the autograph? Can you tell what they're there for? Like by looking at them, you're like, this guy's a.
I usually have to look at what they're holding.
Yeah.
Yeah, they usually have something because I don't have anything like that, on my table. Usually it's 8x10s, but there's nothing from Mean Guns. I even have some guy made a comic book out of Mean Guns, which I have. I never bring them out, but let me grab one. I got one right here.
Yeah, for sure.
Cream Rat Studios designed Mean Guns.
Wow.
They made a comic book. He sent me a bunch of them. I signed a bunch of them so he could, it's
Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
it's pretty, just fun stuff.
That's incredible. It actually reminds me of I heard a story that you can probably confirm or deny that Mean Guns, it was shot in a former prison or a brand new prison.
A future prison, yeah, because there was nobody in there.
And because of that, I believe they weren't allowed to put fake blood anywhere on the walls. It had to be sanitized, which is why the movie is so violent without any bloodshed.
Right. Yeah.
So that comic book can put the blood into Mean Guns.
Black and white, yeah. It's black and white.
I thought that would have worked well for the new prisoners coming into there.
That would be great if it was black and white and then had the red for the blood. That would be that would be kind of cool.
So how did that work? Like a brand new prison that hadn't opened yet, you're making a movie. Was there really strict conditions? Were you being watched by people?
There were people there, but it wasn't, they hadn't geared up yet. So there wasn't a lot of sheriffs there and stuff like that. Because all the prisons are run by the sheriff's department here in LA.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. Now,
we pretty much had the run of the place.
Yeah, and it's a film before its time because so many movies since then have taken on that concept and run with it. It's I guess it's a little bit like Dangerous Game, which is a classic, but it's in a very modern kind of contemporary setting. Very cool.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up and let you run, I want to go off topic just to ask you a question that I'm just fascinated by. I want to ask you about Gene Wilder. He was your first director, I believe.
Yeah, he was. The Woman in Red.
Yes, like I don't ever get to talk to people that have worked with him, so I'm just curious, like, what is he like to interact with? Did you get to interact with him much?
I auditioned for him. The audition was very strange. He stuck out his hand, and I shook it, and he had a limp, dead fish.
I hate that.
He wasn't giving me anything to see if I was sensitive enough to, without and that was the audition, And I was like, my scene was with Charles Grodin, and I saw everybody else on the set, and Gene was directing, of course. So that was a lot of fun.
Was that like a baptism by fire? That's some like movie making royalty. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
And then Kelly LeBrock running around.
Correct. Yeah.
It's funny though. I would imagine that his handshake is like that. It matches the hair. It's sort of floppy. And
I think he was testing me to see if I, how I would react to his handshake.
I always imagine that in the woman in red, the biggest part of the budget went to all the air, just to make Kelly LeBrock's dress fly up. They're just inventing, like James Cameron's, like spending millions of dollars doing.
Yeah, they didn't have any fans. It was just a bunch of grips underneath. Yeah.
There's a few directions I'd like to go there, but I won't. Yeah. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Like, it's been a pleasure. Your work is, we've only talked about Albert Puna, scratch the surface here, but you've done some amazing things, but we appreciate you taking the time.
And we're doing all the Never Hike Alone stuff. We just shot the teaser for that, and we're going to film it over the summer, and then it's going to be released on Friday the 13th in October this year.
Yeah, right.
So we have that to look forward to.
Awesome.
I am actually curious that when you're walking, just in your regular life, when you're walking down the street, do people like screaming?
You know what? It's funny that you said that, because 2 days ago I was at the bank. My local branch burned down from some homeless guy started a fire, so I had to go to another branch. And I was asking the teller, nice guy, I said, "What's going? Are they going to rebuild it? What happened? There's a fire there. Yeah, homeless guy. Blah blah blah." He goes, "Are you Tom Mathews from Tommy Jarvis?" I said, "Yes." So we got to talking, and I'm always surprised that people maybe recognize my. I don't know, because I look older because I am, but maybe he recognized my voice. He plays the game, he knew about Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow. I told him about the teaser, Never Hike Alone 2. It's on YouTube, and I told him it's coming out. The film's coming out in October. So yeah, it doesn't happen it used to happen a lot more. But because of the films I'm in, they look at me, they know me, but they're not exactly sure. Yeah. So
that's cool. I mean, yeah, I think you're instantly recognizable.
I was going to say, do you get mistaken for someone else? Do people are like,
when Michael Dudikoff did American Ninja, I was up for that role. And then when the poster came out, because it's his face, and we look very similar, my family was upset that I didn't tell them I had a new movie coming out. It was just his face. And then also, I used to get like Woody Harrelson, because I also auditioned for Cheers. Woody ended up getting it. The more I lose my hair, the more I look like Woody Harrelson too. So.
It's funny you say this because behind Ben, he's got a Radioactive Dreams VHS cover there, and I said to him just before you came on, like Thom could have been one of them. Like he could have played that character. Absolutely.
Yeah,
All right, mate. We're gonna let you get on with your afternoon. Thank you so much for spending
pleasure.
time with us. It's been
Thanks
a thrill.
for having me.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size. And I know we've talked about food and movies before, but movies that have made us hungry. But now we're going to talk about movies that are based around food that we like. And sirs, I have a real gem here that I bet neither one of you have ever seen. You guys know who Jim Varney is? Now, Glenn may have seen this because his love of trash cinema and Jim Varney knows no bounds. You guys know who Jim Varney is, right? But in 1989, he starred in a low budget. Have either one of you ever heard of this movie called Fast Food?
Oh, no.
This is the plot. Not making it up. What would happen if a sex drug ended up in a secret sauce of a new burger joint?
What would happen, Joe?
Hijinks would ensue. But let's not stop there. Not only did it have Jim Varney, you guys know Blake Clark, right? The character actor?
Oh, yes.
A lot of Adam Sandler films. He's in it. Kevin McCarthy. Great one. He's in it. Tracy Lords. She's in it. The great character actor Michael J. Pollard. He's in it. This movie was directed by the man that gave us Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. That's right, 2 and 3. It is not one that you should go out and find. In fact, I'm not quite for certain where you can find it at. But Jim Varney actually plays the bad guy. He plays a Wrangler Bob Bundy who owns the competitor fast food joint that they're going up against. These young, they've got to open a ski school. It's kind of the same plot. They're opening up their own burger joint, and they want to find a secret sauce that can compete with Big Jim Bundy or whatever his name is. And the guy, the nerd, because they have to be a nerd, right, gentlemen, in these 80s movies, creates this sauce and it makes everybody real horny. That's the plot. Welcome to Fast Food. You guys want to check it out. Normally, I'm not the one that comes up with the obscure ones, but I think I did my job this time. Chad.
I'm going to talk.
Chad, fuck off.
I may have talked about this before, but I don't care because I still enjoy it. I watched it again for some reason. And it's about food, kind of. It's set in a restaurant. It's got everything else going for it. But more people need to watch the film. Directed by James Roday. Chad, you okay? Oh, I'm good.
All right.
Directed by James Roday, starring Oscar-nominated folk. Well, one person at least. And that's Gravy. You can't sing Gravy.
I've had it on so many things.
I enjoyed Gravy on so many different levels. It's set at a restaurant.
It's good on mashed potatoes. It's good on country fried steak. It's good on country fried chicken.
It's set in a restaurant. These people come into...
These people.
Anyway, these individuals come into the restaurant. They're in the corner booth, and then they say, "Hey, we're closing." They won't leave, and then they basically kidnap the entire staff of the restaurant and start eating them. But they make the chef prepare them, and the chef is one of the most interestingly odd, sympathetic characters because he said, "If you're going to eat my friends, I'm going to make sure they're prepared correct." And there's a couple other things that happen. But if you've never seen Gravy, it's a horror comedy, got some weird scenes in it. Eating gets defined in a couple different ways. You probably should check out Gravy if you haven't seen it and you like horror comedies. So Sarah Silverman, Lily Cole, and I always say it wrong, Gabori
All right.
Gabiday, Sibido. Anyway, I am going to talk about a movie that I think has been wrongly viewed for over 3 decades now. These people are put as villains, and they're really not. They're just hungry. They need to eat like the rest of us. But because they're eating humans, oh, that's a problem. We can eat everything else, but if somebody eats us, oh, those people are the bad people. I am, of course, talking about Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
The Kyoto brothers.
The Kyoto brothers. And all these aliens want to do is they want to eat. Sure, they want to turn us to cotton candy and then suck out our delicious, delicious fluids.
I don't think our fluids are all that delicious.
According to based on this movie, they're like strawberry milkshakes. I hate strawberry milkshakes. I wish I would have came up with something better.
Strawberry wine.
That's all the movie is them eating us after they turn us to cotton candy. And I hate cotton candy personally. Can't stand the shit, but it makes me want to eat it every time I watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Chad,
does that make me a cannibal?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think maybe you're a cannibal and you know that's frowned upon, so you pretend it's cotton candy?
Hey, Dahmer Party, are they vilified? No. The
Yes,
soccer players. The soccer players, not Jeffrey Dahmer.
No, Donner part. Chad, they
Jeffrey Dahmer's not vilified.
No, they had a ticker tape parade when they came. Dude, you do not read your history books right.
I vaguely remember reading some history.
No,
You're reading your history books from Florida.
That's it for Bonehead Weekly.
So there we are, the Boneheads. Now, Ben, you weren't on the show last week to respond to Joe's dislike of Drop Dead Fred. I'm wondering what you make of that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Look, I listened to the show last week while driving around Auckland with Jarrett, and he was incensed by it. He's a big Phoebe Cates fan, a big Rick Mail fan, and he loves that film. I was like, nah, I can see it. Like I have only ever watched Drop Dead Fred once, and I've never really felt the need to rewatch it. Which is probably like wrong because I probably just watched it in the wrong frame of mind, and I should go back and give it the attention that I'm sure it deserves. But as it stands, I was like, oh, this, yeah. I was like,
I'm going to cut that from the show.
I can do it again. I can do it again and be outraged.
Get your pens ready, everyone. We're going to take some mental notes here. It's our recommendations. We're going to just move on from that outrageous, I don't know what you'd call that. That's just, now I'm livid. I brought it up thinking you'd be on my side.
Are you reconsidering me as co-host right now?
Well, that depends how the show ends.
I mean, there was that extensive checklist, like tests that I had to go through to get the job, and we agreed on a lot of films. Drop Dead Fred wasn't on that list. Just lucky me.
No, but you do arrive pantless, so that's okay. Okay, so this week I'm going to start off with the recommendations. This one's actually very similar to Air, that one we talked about earlier on, and it's a brand new one that landed on Apple TV a week ago, I think, and it's Tetris. I watched this the day it landed, and it's very similar in the sense of it's a story of a sort of a corporate guy headhunting a product. So it is the true story of Tetris, the video game, and it's a fucking mental story. I kind of knew a little bit about the history of Tetris coming from Russia and the Americans, trying to, own it. I had no idea the level of like almost espionage that was involved with this. So it's about a video game designer. He's played by Taron Egerton, and he discovers Tetris at a gaming convention, and it's a very primitive game. And he's trying to find out who created it so he can buy it. And it turns out it came from Russia. And the problem is, though, there's all this sort of red tape and whatnot of who owns it. So whether you've got the video game rights that are like arcade, you've got video game rights for console, you've got video game rights for handheld, all that kind of stuff. And it's him going to Russia to try and wrangle all of those rights. But the government in Russia doesn't want to relinquish it. And then suddenly there's death threats to the families in America. There's, fucking kidnappings and shit going on all over this fucking Tetris game. It's mind-blowing how deep this story goes. And it's like, if you can imagine Air deadly serious. So Air crossed with maybe Bridge of Spies. That's
Yeah, right.
kind of
I mean, that
what you've got.
like you couldn't have sold it any better to me than saying Air versus meets Bridge of Spies. I'm down.
Yeah. I mean, if I was this Taron Egerton character, I would not have bothered. Like the amount of intimidation and terror that the Russian government put this guy through, that's certainly not worth. I mean, in the end, it was worth it for him. Obviously, Tetris became what it is, but far out. Yeah, I recommend that one. So there you go. It's on Apple Plus TV right now, and yeah, well worth a look.
Excellent. Well, funnily enough, I've also chosen a film that has Cold War connotations to it, shall we say?
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Gotcha?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
You've never seen Gotcha?
I haven't.
You're in for a treat, my friend. This film was directed by Jeff Canoe, who directed, among other things, Revenge of the Nerds and Tough Guys and V.I. Wachowski.
Yeah, talk my language.
And it stars, what's his name now? Anthony Edwards.
Oh, I know the poster.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, and he's a he's a college student, and they have this paintball assassination game around the college called Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
It's very similar to there was that other paintball movie with that I talked about on the show a while ago, and now for the life of me I can't think of the name of it, but it's Linda Hamilton is in it, and I think at the time I talked about how it was very similar to Gotcha. Tag the assassination game. That's what it was called. Yep. But so he's like the college champion of Gotcha, but he goes on vacation at end of term to West Germany, the good one. He goes to West Germany for a holiday, but there he meets and is seduced by Linda Fiorentino, this like sexy older woman.
Yep.
When he gets home, there's this canister waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
He has no idea what it is, but next thing you know, he's being hunted by kind of these, West German, East German agents and KGB and all sorts of stuff. And all of a sudden, the game of Gotcha becomes very real.
Oh,
and it is a hell of a lot of fun. It is I guess. I don't know if you would call this a fish out of water story. It's more like it's a fish in water, but it's a lot of fun. And it also, I think Alex Rocco turns up.
Yeah. I'm looking at it on IMDb now, and I recognize the guy from Nightmare on Elm Street, Jesus Garcia, who plays. Yes. He often plays like a cop in movies, like a partner kind of cop.
Yeah.
I like him. This movie, I know the poster. I don't know what poster is the official one, but it's sort of kind of got a sexy graduate type of pose.
That's the one. I'm sure
no one listening to the podcast can actually
see, but it's Linda Fiorentino's legs and Anthony Edwards standing in the corner looking at them.
Yeah.
Which is like kind of like almost through a window or something like that. It makes him look very kind of pervy.
Well, we were allowed to be pervy back then.
Yeah, and it was this is perfectly okay for an older woman to seduce a college student to get him to do her dirty deeds.
Awesome.
But this is out. It's out on Blu-ray through Keenan & Lorber. I don't know if there's any other way to see it, but it actually has a commentary with the director and another commentary by some film historians. So definitely worth watching.
I've just looked it up. It's available to rent on Apple TV, YouTube,
Beautiful.
Google Play, Amazon. Yeah, so it's out there. I'm going to definitely that might not be a Monday thing because I've got other things to watch, as we know. But it'll be a later this week thing, I think.
Yeah.
Awesome, good one. That's pretty much it for the show, mate. Brings us right to the end. Time to go.
All right. I'm going to head back from New Zealand.
You're already back. You did
I'm
that.
back.
Yeah,
That's right. I went back and I came. Yeah, okay. It's very confusing.
it is. How do you think the Kiwis feel?
Yeah. Let me tell you, they hated having me.
Thank you to everybody listening. Please support us by giving us a like, a follow, a subscribe, all that stuff. Our website's goodmoviemonday.com. So go there, check it out. There's links to all the social media. It's great having you back, Ben. Thanks for another one.
Thank you. Fantastic being.
How the fuck am I going to go when you're overseas in a month or two?
It's gonna be a challenge.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Thank you to Thom Mathews. What a guy. The video version of that is going to be up on Facebook and YouTube this Thursday. Highly recommend giving that a look because if for anything, his dog in the background is well worth the price of admission. Here's a song from Return of the Living Dead to leave you all with. It's called Love Under Will by the Black Jet Berries. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Ciao, Ben.
Bye-bye.